I hate to say this. I don't actually mean it, but it's almost like we're better off going back to don't ask, don't tell. If it's going to be this.
Isn't that so fucked?
Insane.
Like that we're here.
Welcome to Millennial, the home of pretend adulting and real talk for 10 years now. Wow. Hi, I'm Andrew.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Pamela.
I saw in my Facebook on this day memories the other day that the show is now 10 years old. That's crazy. I think we launched on January 27th, 2015.
Wow.
It's wild.
I know.
I can't believe it.
Yeah.
We could all have a 10-year-old child, but instead we made this podcast.
This is our baby.
Exactly.
This is our baby. Yeah. It's more affordable than having a real child and doesn't talk back to us. Our listeners can't talk back to us. Not in real time anyway. They can email us and sound off, but
Oh, okay. So our listeners are our babies.
I get, well, yeah, sort of. They're
Kinda, yeah.
They're like the stepchild. They're our child's friend. Like the show is our child.
The friend
and
that comes over and eats all your food after school.
Sure. I mean, it's almost saying that these listeners are taking from us, but no, you give us so much.
No, we willingly bake the after-school cookies.
Yes. Well, thanks everybody who stuck with us over the last 10 years, over the last 20 years since we started podcasting. I'm sure some of you are newer too. So no matter when you joined the show, we're very grateful for your support and listenership over the years. I do wonder if being 10 years old makes us qualify to join the White House Press Corps, because Laura, I saw earlier today that the White House is going to start inviting podcasters and social media influencers into press conferences now.
I mean, I don't see why not, but for some reason, I have a feeling that inviting independent podcasters and influencers is going to refer to a very specific kind of independent podcaster and influencer that isn't us. But I think we should apply anyway. We can apply on the website.
Oh, wonderful.
I think it would be the funniest thing.
What are some of the things they're asking when you apply? Have you looked at the form yet?
No, I haven't. But
they're probably like, sign away your firstborn, give us your social security number.
Well, I'm sure they want like...
Are you gay?
They want like a loyalty oath, I'm sure, because they're asking that of any number of federal employees right now.
Yeah. Are you gay? Do you know any trans people? Do you like women? Do you love Donald Trump?
Got
Do
any
you love
immigrant
McDonald's?
friends?
Right.
Yeah.
So Andrew and I are out. This is what I'm hearing. And Laura, you might be able to squeeze in if you lie.
I would have to really change my appearance, I think. And
that's true.
Yeah.
At least dye your hair MAGA red.
Oh, MAGA red.
No,
Not just red,
I feel
MAGA
like
red.
they love like the MAGA bleach blonde.
Yeah.
And I did that once in my life. It was a phase, and I got out of it, unlike the new White House press secretary.
They probably want to know if you own some meme coins, if you read books.
I
do.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Well, that's check in the positive column for Laura. So let's say, Laura, you join and you're representing Millennial. What would your first questions be to White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt?
It would be, how quickly is the president planning to move on repealing the 22nd Amendment?
I like the phrasing of that.
Yeah, it's very important. Gets you thinking, wait, what's the 22nd Amendment? Let's go look.
That's the
presidential
one about
terms.
And they don't know which where your loyalties lie on that. So
exactly.
Yeah, very sneaky.
Well, good luck. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
I wish you the best.
We'll see how this goes.
And listeners, by the way, speaking of us turning 10 and being cool enough to potentially enter the White House to report from there with our meme coins and our MAGA red hair, just want to mention in After Dark this week, believe it or not, Gen Beta actually kicks off this year. Gen Alpha is now yesterday. As of 2025, Gen Beta begins. So if we were to have a beta baby this year, how would we raise our kids differently than how our own parents raised us millennials? And then we're also going to try and be nice and share what we would replicate that our parents did for us as children. So we'll talk about that in After Dark this week. And then I'm going to have to do my annual check-in with Laura and Pam in terms of if they're actually going to be having children, some Gen Beta babies or not. So we'll see what they say in After Dark this week.
I think you can guess.
Yeah, especially during the Trump era.
Yeah. Well, Andrew, also stop being a JD Vance over here. I feel like you're practically over here like, I want babies.
Your role is to have a child. Your role is in the kitchen raising a child.
That was pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, speaking of Trump, how are his first 100 days going, Laura?
I don't think any of us have missed the deportation stories. So those mass deportation stories are definitely underway. And immigrations and customs enforcement have even been told to pursue a quota of like 1,000 to 1,500 daily arrests. And they actually did exceed 1,000 daily arrests for the first time in quite a long time. And it's just been really disgusting and discouraging to see how all of this has been carried out.
Like, honestly, I highly doubt your parents are having these kinds of conversations with you. But my mom was just telling my brother that he should make sure to carry his passport because unfortunately he's darker than we are. Mm-hmm. My mom and I both pass pretty easily as, ethnically ambiguous, which is really helpful in this situation, kind of. But I know a lot of people that are worried about that for sure. Inspection points and just getting detained, even though they are U.S. citizens. So it's tough out there.
Even just today, Oklahoma is moving to require schools to ask for students' immigration status, and the state would pass the information to the Trump administration.
There's just so much to this. It's the fact that they've been permitted to officially enter like schools and places of worship and hospitals and doctors' offices. Like, these are places where officials should not be like breaching the premises unless they feel like there is an immediate threat to the surrounding vicinity or like a threat to the other people in there. And it's just really, really shocking, even though we all knew it was coming, to see it play out. But then at the same time, for a lot of Americans not to be putting two and two together and realizing, yeah, that's why 75% of migrant workers in some California farms didn't show up to work for the last week. And that's why there are a lot of crops that are going to be sitting there going bad because there's nobody to get them. And whatever meager amounts you are able to get are going to be really, really expensive because you scared everyone away from work. So it's like America really wants to have its cake and eat it too. We like want the cheap labor, but we also apparently despise the people that we're exploiting to get that cheap labor.
Yeah. And we don't want to do the cheap labor.
No, right. That's the other thing.
It's really easy to say, oh, they're taking away our jobs, but I've never seen an American working the fields, picking strawberries or citrus or anything else that they grow on that long stretch of road between San Francisco and Los Angeles. So I would just say that, like, you should just familiarize yourself with your rights. And there's a lot of information out there that you can pass on to other people, even if this does not personally affect you, that could potentially help them. Like, for example, if ICE knocks on your door, you don't have to answer. And you also don't have to answer any of their questions unless they have a judge-signed warrant. It's similar to like how, like, if a police pulls you over and they don't have a warrant, they're not allowed to search your car either. So just make sure that you're up to date on what your rights are and that you inform other people around you, because I think the only way we get out of this is by taking care of each other. And I do have hope that this is all just, like, honestly, a really big publicity stunt so that Trump can say he stood 10 toes down and did what he promised. But all of this costs so much money to implement too. So I mean, I'm hoping that this all dies down, like the raids and stuff, in a couple of months.
And I think I may have said this on the show or to you two off air, but I do think he wants to create a publicity stunt, get the photos, get some stats, get some headlines, and then the reality is going to set in. If he doesn't know it already, he will. He needs immigrants in this country working in jobs that most Americans do not want to work. And so, you know, he could claim today if he wanted to, we did it, we fixed the border, and all of his fans would believe that the job's already been done and solved, and there isn't an issue. Because the media sources that they look at are also not going to report on any immigration issues or deportation issues if he's not talking about it. So it's just like, I agree, Pam, because of how expensive it is, because of how complicated it is to actually roll out these mass deportations. It's not actually going to happen, but still he's going to act like he got it done. We just live in this post-truth society.
Honestly, I hope that's the extent of it, because, like, not to get too dark here, but you can look at other historical examples of countries deciding they want to do mass deportations of a particular ethnic group and look at how those ended up going. And it really results in immense violence towards that group of people, bare minimum. It's very scary. It's very scary, especially when you consider, you know, the private prison industry here in the United States. I mean, private prison stocks are jumping quite a bit over these last couple of weeks because they know they're probably going to be landing some really sweet government contracts when they have to build all these additional prisons to hold people.
Yeah, even what they're trying to do with asylum seekers is send them to potentially El Salvador first. It just kind of feels like that's a really easy way for people to disappear entirely, which is also really scary. So
no, and it wouldn't be the first time it's happened in history, modern history. So we have to keep an eye on it. So something else that's come up in the last few days is that the Trump administration put a halt on health agency alerts. So that includes like the CDC, the FDA, the NIH, and their ability to push any kind of health agency alerts, social media posts, regulations, announcements, and all of those things until this content is approved by a political appointee. And then the last thing I wanted to bring to the table, did you guys hear about the federal funding freeze?
Oh, yeah.
That got announced last night and that was driving people crazy today.
Cutting off charitable organizations, cutting off Medicaid. I mean, cutting off a lot.
This is how you know that they're really not doing their due diligence when they're writing out these orders and stuff.
I really thought they were going to be a little more competent this time around. And some people are saying this is just another distraction to, you know, distract from what they're doing more behind the scenes. But I don't know. This is just messy. This is just reminding me of the early days of the 2016 administration. It's just more of this circus. So a judge has temporarily blocked the president's order. So the funding is going to be unfrozen now. But what's going to happen from here? And I feel kind of relieved in a weird way that it's as messy as it was the first time around. Because like I said, I wish that he won in 2020 because it would have been the same shit show continuing from 2016. I thought, with 2024, he might get his shit together a little more. No, he's not. Not yet, anyway. Sorry for being optimistic sometimes.
No, I mean, I really hope that you're right. All of this was born out of the fact that he's just on a witch hunt for anything that he can write off as DEI. Like, he wanted to freeze all of this federal funding so that these various agencies could like audit where those funds are going and determine whether or not the recipients of the funds were aligned with the administration's view on DEI. which is to say we shouldn't have it and it's bad. So, I mean, you're talking about throwing people into a panic over like Social Security and disability payments and food stamps, grants and funding for public museums, public schools, like
farmers.
Yeah. I mean, so many different lawyers and groups, various groups, like across the ideological spectrum were like, what the fuck, guys?
And the White House had said it wouldn't affect many of the departments that you're sharing right now, Laura, but it turns out it did.
Yeah.
It's because of the way, it's because of the way it was written. It was too much of a broad stroke. And this, I don't understand how nobody on his team caught that, because the law only works when it isn't broad. It should be specific, you know? And like, that's the reason why we have issues with stuff. Well, like nowadays, like reinterpreting things like the Second Amendment, right? Because it was written specifically for a certain point in time, and we're trying to apply it to a 2020 landscape, 2020s landscape. So it's like, I don't know. I just don't know how they didn't realize that this was going to severely affect a lot of stuff. And then you can't even like go back and say, like, I know a lot of people were worried about FAFSA, and FAFSA has come out already and said that it's not actually going to affect federal grants. But I don't know how they didn't see that it would if the language was broad enough to include everything instead of just listing out specifically what they wanted to freeze.
Yeah. Well, that's because they don't know. And it's because they are leading with the assumption that DEI has like sunk its claws into the government and that it's at every level. And
lesbians are everywhere. Get them out.
Right. Exactly. It's like, oh my God, they're hiring lesbians and they're giving Meals on Wheels to poor elderly people. Oh God, DEI.
It's almost like we're better off. I hate to say this. I don't actually mean it, but it's almost like we're better off going back to don't ask, don't tell. If it's going to be this.
Isn't that so fucked?
Insane.
Like that we're here.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the call is coming from inside the house. It's not these DEI hires that are ruining government. It's Donald Trump and his sloppy picks that are doing a piss poor job of running the government.
I mean, some of those people definitely are diversity something. Elon has no background in government. Neither does his Hollywood
Yeah, they're diverse
force.
in some way. Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's beautiful. A couple of items in the resistance department, because it's nice to look at these things. This week, links to X, formerly known as Twitter, were banned from many major subreddits in response to Elon's 2-time Nazi salute at that inauguration event last week. This was good to see. Elon used to be a darling of the internet. Everybody loved him online. Redditors, big fan of him. He's one of these chronically online people, but he wasn't crazy at the time. So now a lot of people, of course, have turned on him. And it's nice to see that some major subreddits are saying, hey, we will no longer accept any links to his platform. As we all know, Reddit is gigantic. They can send websites a lot of traffic. And if major subreddits are cutting off traffic to X, that could hurt Elon's bottom line. And this comes at the same time as banks are actually set to sell their X loans that they took on when Elon made his purchase. And that's setting up some trouble at the company too. They are currently not making money, and Elon needs to find money somewhere. So that just warmed my heart to see.
Andrew, have you taken to referring to your Tesla as a swastika?
I was going to ask the same thing.
No, Laura, why do you have to remind everybody I have the Tesla? I'm thinking
those stickers.
I'm not selling it, but yeah, I am tempted to buy one of those Elon sucks stickers, or I bought this before Elon was crazy stickers, something like that. I've seen a couple of those on Teslas. It's pretty funny. I'll say it again. The Tesla is a great car. So I don't hate Tesla. I hate Elon, but I don't hate Tesla.
I mean, he didn't. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's not like he actually did anything. Yeah. He's not the inventor of that car. He did not design it.
And then, Laura, you saw, this was pretty funny, the Contraception Begins at Erection Act. This is not a Republican idea, I take it.
No. It is out of a Democratic lawmaker in Mississippi who presented the conception, I think, right? Conception? Because contraception's the opposite, right?
Well, yeah. So I keep getting confused too, because I think a lot of people are as well, but per NBC News, it's contraception.
Oh, okay.
Begins at erection.
Okay. Well, basically, this is saying what this legislation is intended to say in a tongue-in-cheek way. It's not going to go anywhere. It's Mississippi. Is that 100% of unplanned pregnancies are caused by men. So maybe they need to get their shit together instead of trying to regulate us.
So those are two glimmers of laughter in this dark time. And we'll leave our political talk there for now. Coming up in a moment, forget about boomer complaints. We're going to talk about listeners' biggest millennial complaints. We'll be right back. So I saw this post, forget about boomer complaints. What's your biggest millennial complaint? This conversation went viral on X, and actually the New York Times even covered the post. So I thought this would be a perfect discussion for here on Millennial as well. And we actually asked patrons, and wow, y'all are grumps. You have a lot of millennial complaints of your own. But with some of these, we will try to help soothe over your concerns. First of all, I think this one from Molly probably hits all of us. And I think it's a very millennial complaint because we grew up during the advent of delivery apps. Molly said, the fees when ordering food delivery are absurd. I want a burrito that doesn't cost $40. It is truly comical real. At this point when you get to the checkout page on DoorDash and you see all the different fees.
Yeah.
Long distance fee, delivery fee, service fee, tip. This weekend, I was trying to order a chicken sandwich. I laughed out loud at all the extra fees it costs to get 2 chicken sandwiches.
That's the thing. It basically doubles the cost of your order. So if you order like pizza in, for example, pizza for 2, the subtotal will be like maybe $30, $40, depending on how expensive your city is. But then between tip and delivery fee and God knows what other bullshit fee they throw in there, you end up paying $80 for $40 pizza.
Small delivery fee. That's the one that I like really grinds my gears because it's so hard to hit, like what is it like? I don't know what constitutes as not a small delivery, but whatever their threshold is hard to hit. I think it might be about $40 before they tack on all the other fees. And then you want to leave a decent tip because somebody went out to get it for you and drop it off. So
I always think the tips that are preset are a little too high. I bring them down a little bit. And it never shows you a percentage. It just shows you certain dollar amounts.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, something I will say for this, and it's a tip that I got from you, Andrew, is there are some credit cards that offer things like Dash Pass as a benefit. So they'll pay for your Dash Pass so that you don't pay delivery fees.
Yeah. So actually, I was going to recommend this too. I have the Chase Sapphire card and it comes with Dash Pass. And yeah, it cuts down the delivery fee and I think one other fee as well. So that's definitely been nice. Alternatively, I would just recommend checking the restaurant's website. They normally go through several different platforms to allow people to order online. And I will sit there and price compare because if I'm going to save a few dollars ordering through their website directly, I'm going to do it. Or I'm just going to go pick the damn thing up myself. I know a lot of people probably can't do that. In Chicago, I used to be more inclined to do DoorDash because I didn't want to pull my car out of the garage, get through traffic. Here, it's so easy to get around. I'm going to pick it up my damn self. When you two see these fees, are you like turned off from ordering or what?
Oh yeah, I'll look and it really inspires me to just go pick it up myself.
Yeah.
If I'm in a position where I can go pick it up myself, I will.
But Laura's she's slothing on the couch real hard.
Yeah, if I'm not in a position to do that safely, then, you know.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, I would rather pay the fees on DoorDash.
So moving along with millennial complaints here, Carson said, I think showing up for work and putting your best foot forward in interviews / the workplace is important. I think the self-motivation and know your worth culture has gone too far for a lot of Gen Z coworkers who think every workplace owes them when at the end of the day, you were the one applying for the job. Ugh, I feel like I just told kids to get off my lawn.
This is interesting.
Laura, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but do you notice a difference in how like Gen Z people dress in the office versus millennials? I think our parents probably still taught us that like in a traditional office setting, you want to go business casual, at least.
Yeah, I can't say that I've really noticed, but I may be the wrong person to ask because I definitely don't work with a lot of Gen Zers.
No, so I will say I have heard anecdotally that Gen Z can be overachievers and they burn themselves out and it gets annoying. So,
which is so funny because they always complain about how we don't know how to like have proper work-life balance.
In terms of Carson's comment about the workplace owes them, one lesson I learned early on in my professional career is you are not fucking needed. You can be dropped. You are replaceable. And it sounds like to me what Carson is saying is Gen Zers think they are very important in their job and their job loves them back. Your job doesn't love you back. It is just a job. You are there to make money. They don't care about you. They will drop you.
Yeah. So take your vacation.
Yes, exactly.
Take that unlimited PTO.
And now that we lost our Gen Z audience, which is fine, this is a safe space for millennials. This isn't for Gen Zers.
Wow. I thought we had opened the tent a couple years ago and we were like, yes, come youth. And then we were so disappointed after the election.
Yeah, right.
We're like,
no, we're jumping to Gen Alpha and Beta. Those are our new focuses.
You were the chosen one.
We're making Gen Beta listen to us out of the womb as soon as they're born. Okay, so Molly said, I used to own DVDs of all my comfort shows. Then streaming came along, so I donated my DVDs. Now I pay hundreds of dollars a year to watch my comfort show with ads. Yeah, I think we're all feeling this. And the shows bounce around to different streamers too, or just disappear, and then there's no place to find them. Laura, did you see Max actually got rid of West Wing a couple of weeks ago, and then there was backlash, so they added it back. But it was a cost-cutting measure.
Isn't it on Netflix, though?
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Netflix?
It used to be on Netflix. It moved to Max. But there was a kerfuffle about it because one of them was about to dump the West Wing, and people were up in arms, and so they kept it. So this
was Max a couple weeks ago.
But no, that's this time. It's happened before.
Oh.
West Wing fans will not be denied. Although, yes, do I have the complete series on DVD? 100%. So I'm always covered.
That's a great idea.
This is inspiring me to start thrifting some of my, like, if Netflix ever gets rid of Gilmore Girls, I don't know what I'm going to do. But I just need to have background noise on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So my suggestion to Molly is, how about you just go back to DVDs for an upcoming birthday or holiday? Say, hey, friends, can you get me Friends, the complete series? Can you get me The West Wing, the complete series? And somebody else buys you a DVD player for $30. I went on eBay before recording. I looked up Friends, the complete series. It's like $20, $30 on DVD. It's not bad. And that's going to pay for itself in 1 month when you look at these streaming app prices.
Yeah. Isn't it also a concern, though, that DVDs are going to be obsolete eventually? And with the way technology is moving, we eventually won't have like DVD drives to play these on anymore.
I honestly worry that it's not and I don't know what the answer is. I honestly worry it's not the best medium to preserve stuff because DVDs scratch so easily.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously VHS, firstly, from a storage perspective, is not really, it's kind of counterproductive, but then also you can wear out a VHS tape as well. So Yeah, it kind of feels like digital copies are the way to go, but then like you really should try and save them separately outside of wherever you buy them if you can, because there's been talk about how, like you're purchasing like a license.
Right. You don't actually own
and
that
you
digital
don't actually
copy.
own it. Yeah.
There have been examples of them being
I have a friend whose
back.
partner is like really big on owning what they consider to be physical media, which is just like basically like digital media. So they prefer to buy. And I don't have the heart to tell her to tell him that it's just putting a Band-Aid on a bigger issue, because, that's also why they can change. Like Harry Potter's a good example of this. We own the full set on the family Apple TV account, but they constantly are changing the covers of those movies and that's like a stark reminder for me that they can do that, because they still own your digital copy. You're just like basically renting the license for however long they decide to let you have it. So
I still think DVD Blu-ray is a great option. Go out and buy those. I know you said they can scratch. Take care of them. You're an adult. You can take care of those things well. I trust you. I think DVD and Blu-ray are going to last longer than Earth, quite frankly.
I still have my whole DVD collection.
Yeah, good. And you can buy a DVD player now on Amazon, brand new. Buy a few. Put them in put a couple of backups in the closet if they ever go bad.
Andrew, was that a climate change joke that you just slid in there? Okay, just checking.
All right. Riley said, being told we're lazy, even though most millennials work at least 1 to 2 jobs and still can barely afford to thrive, let alone live, and that we're entitled to crazy shit like a thriving wage and affordable housing, food, healthcare, and anything else.
Yeah. It really sucks to be the generational scapegoat. I feel like we got it from both ends, because the boomers did it to us and then Gen Z did it to us.
I really feel like you can never get ahead. You earn more, here's more taxes. You need to live in a certain city for a certain job, higher cost of living. Food prices going up. Netflix, cost of Netflix going up. Everything's always rising, and you got to constantly stay ahead of the curve.
I'll never forget like the moment that this was put into perspective for me. It was when I was still working part-time jobs in college, and I was working at the library at the time, which is a great county job, fantastic part-time job. But they asked me when they knew I was on summer break if I wanted to take on some extra shifts to make some extra money. And I did it for 2 weeks, and then I got my first paycheck, and basically all of the hours I had worked had been taken away because of taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it was like, what's the point?
Yeah.
So
my brother's working a job right now in which he's a subcontractor, and he was here a couple weeks ago. And I said, bro, you saving for taxes? He said, no. I'm like, oh my God, he's going to get fucked.
He's only going to have to learn that lesson once.
And he's going to learn it a very hard way in a couple of months. But he's going to learn it. He's not going to forget after this time.
I think we all had to learn that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And now it's my brother's turn. Enjoy. Next up, y'all, we got to look inward for this one. Sean said, I get really sick of ads on podcasts. I understand the need for them since podcasts have grown in popularity and they help podcasters to make a living. But I started listening to MuggleCast in 2008 when there was maybe a 30-second GoDaddy ad at the beginning. But now I sometimes have to get through more than 5 minutes of ads before the actual show starts, and I get so annoyed. No hate to the show or MuggleCast. It's general frustration with the podcast industry at large. I actually do agree with you, Sean.
Yeah. It sucks.
Do you know what's really funny about this for me, though, is that I feel like I know I'm getting old because I listen to more like podcasts or talk radio. And since I'm used to talking so much, sometimes when I'm listening to the regular radio, I don't even realize that they've taken an ad break because I'm so used to like hearing the spoken word.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that says about me, but I get it.
Yeah.
So first of all, I would just like to say that we have 3 ad slots max at the beginning and in 2 mid-roll spots, and they're supposed to be 15 to 30 second ads. So you're only going to get 90 seconds max of advertising in our ad breaks. But I will also say I've seen talk of some podcasters getting very greedy. It's normally the very successful ones. They can just crank up that dial and give Sean 5 minutes of ads, and they are so damn popular, it doesn't affect them. And maybe they hear some people complain, but they still get probably hundreds of thousands of downloads a week. They don't give a shit if you're listening to 5 minutes of ads.
Related to this, something that does bother me is that YouTube does not go straight back to the video after the ad plays if they give you the option to skip. So if you don't skip manually, then it just goes to another ad and another ad and another ad.
To me, it's a fun game because you're watching the countdown clock until you can skip, and I try to hit it as fast as possible.
Same.
But I used to be able to just let it run and walk away, go to the bathroom or grab a snack and come back.
Yeah. And that is something that we do offer to our listeners on both shows through our Patreon. You get ad-free listening, so you can listen to the whole show and not have to worry about ads interrupting it. So it's really a question of like, do you want to support your favorite podcaster, or do you want ads to support your favorite podcaster?
Yeah, and I think for us and our audience size, I know that your Patreon or Apple Podcast support goes farther for us than you hearing those ads when you math it all out. So yeah. And I personally have done that for a couple of shows. I've signed up for their membership because I don't want to hear the ads. And to Sean's point, I have a podcast that I love, but my God, does he take his time doing the host read ads? And I'm tired of fast forwarding through them. So I support them through their platform. All right. Next one. Actually, you know what? We need a 10-minute ad break now, and then we'll get to the rest of these. No, Brittany said, being told we ruined something. We were the generation that were told to go to college because it would pretty much guarantee us a good job. We graduated into a recession and couldn't afford anything and couldn't find a good paying job. So we had to start sacrificing things because we couldn't afford them. And then we get blamed for their downfall. I recently read something about millennials destroying the guest room. Oh my God.
Yeah, because we don't want guests. Get out.
But we also can't afford extra rooms for the guest room.
Right. Yeah.
That's probably the brunt of it.
You know what I have? So I have a tea towel that is hanging in my kitchen, like on my oven. And it's like a 1960s style vintage piece of art showing a very happy homemaking woman opening the door and welcoming friends in, except it's captioned, "Get out." So it's like this very cheerful, "Get out." And every now and then when I have someone over, they'll notice it. And that's how I know they're a real one, if they notice it and they laugh, because they're like, yeah, I get it. You don't want me here. It's fine.
Megan said, I miss my life before Instagram Reels. Sorry, I never made it to TikTok. Up until 2019, I only had 300 megabytes of data a month. So every time I left my house, I was disconnected unless there was Wi-Fi. Now here I am 6 years later with unlimited data, unable to disconnect. My attention span feels wrecked. I post while I'm multitasking and on my phone instead of watching the film I have going on the TV. So Megan, I would say there's a couple of ways to kind of shut off your access to the internet. First of all, there's those screen time limits that you can set on your phone, and I know you can bypass them. But also, I just wanted to share a reminder of a rec that I made on the show, I believe last year. It's called Brick. You can get it at getbrick.app. And this is a physical device that allows you to block yourself from accessing certain apps on your phone. You need to tap your phone to a physical block that you can put on your fridge or wherever else to unbrick these apps. And I love it. So because I can brick my phone, go for a walk with Brooklyn for 45 minutes. While I'm on the walk, I can't load up Instagram and other social media apps. I still allow myself to access the phone and texting, so I still have access to important apps, but not the junk apps. So I'd recommend trying something like that, or start with the screen time limits and see how that goes. It also, Brick also blocks app notifications, which I really love. So if I have Instagram blocked, I'm not getting an Instagram notification. I'm not even thinking about Instagram because it's not lighting up my phone. I just think it's a great physical barrier, and I need a physical barrier. This little device is $59, which seems pretty expensive to me for something they probably make for like $2. But you can get 10% off with an email sign up, and there's no subscription, and you can actually use it with multiple people. So Pat doesn't want to use it, but he could use my Brick too if he wanted to. Megan also added, I also really miss DVDs and plug-in headphones. Wireless ones are always falling out of my ear and I lose them constantly. And then Sean added, and my left AirPod always gives me problems charging. Then I go to use it the next day and it has zero charge. How do you two feel about wireless headphones? I have that AirPod problem too.
Yeah, I like them. I did splurge and I got a pair of Beats, which are not like the best you can get on the market, honestly, sound wise, but they're not bad. And most of them come with a cord that you can plug in too. So like if you run out of battery, you can plug them in like normal headphones, which I think is really nice. But I don't know. I like the AirPods, but I've been using overhead more. And yeah, if you find a nice pair of like overhead, they're just really comfy. They're nostalgic. Like I said, a lot of them come with the option to also use a cord with them. So you don't have to worry about losing charge.
Mm-hmm.
It's still possible to kind of have the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
You shop around.
I like my AirPods Max.
Oh, yeah. The over-ear ones.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Those are really nice. I struggle with in-ear AirPods because they just don't sit in my ear very well. I feel like on one, it's like usually the right side. It just doesn't sit exactly how it should. So it can fall out kind of easily. I don't know if my ear canal is deformed or something.
No, mine fall out too. I have the AirPod Maxes and I bought like little like over ear adapt things.
You mean
for
the Pros?
Them. Yeah, the AirPod Pros. That's what I meant.
And the Pros are supposed to be even better for fitting.
Yeah, because they have they come with the 3 little sizes.
Yeah.
And it just like, I don't know, maybe my ears are just not meant for them. So I bought the little hooks really cheap on Amazon. And I look super dorky, but they don't fall out. I'm wearing one right now. I love the AirPods for podcasting specifically because they just like don't get in the way and don't have to worry about the cord. So,
well, Sean's issue about the charging issues is very real. And it's so frustrating when I'm about to walk into the gym and I put the AirPods into my ears and one of them isn't charged. And then I can't get straight into the cardio. I got to wait for one of them to charge up. And it seems to be an issue where the charging like touch point in the case gets a little dusty. I figure because if you're sweating on your AirPods, maybe some of your sweat gets crusty on the bottom of your AirPods and then it doesn't charge. But that is one really annoying part about AirPods, especially because you don't know they haven't charged until it's too late. And then you got to sit there and wait for them to charge. So I would like to see Apple figure that out because I know it's a very common problem. All right, we're going to take a break for real this time, and then we're going to get to more millennial complaints. We'll be right back. So let's go back in time to the early days of the internet. Jen said, the internet used to be so much better. You could just stumble upon a new website and go down a rabbit hole. Now the internet is just 4 social media websites and it sucks.
Yeah, I agree with this. It's not fun anymore.
MUGGLENET.com and see the latest Harry Potter news. Go to StephanieMeyer.com and see the latest Easter egg she posted on her website about Midnight Sun. The 4 social media platforms, or however many you use, are now your portal to the rest of the web, if at all. Do you two go to any particular websites like multiple times daily? I actually do have one I visit multiple times daily. That isn't the New York Times.
Yeah, I mean, I check like New York Times and Reuters and Associated Press and stuff like that. But for the most part, not really. Everything has an app now, right? And if you're doing it from your phone,
right,
you're going to use the app. So
I'm trying to think of the last time I visited a standalone website. It was probably Archive of Our Own.
Oh, okay. So, that's a classic website that's still online. Thank God.
Yeah. I can't believe it's a classic now. It's crazy. I was actually I was looking up some other stuff. I think it was probably in relation to the, the porn stuff we were talking about last week. And so I was just trying to look to see what people were saying online about it. And I can't believe that Archive of Our Own has now been around long enough for the younger generation, not to realize that there was fan fiction before that hosted elsewhere.
Oh,
we were it's not an Archive of Our Own. It must be really old. It's not that old. It was just before 2009.
Kids today will never know.
They'll never know the struggle.
I love the website The Verge, and I actually became a paid subscriber when they announced the paid subscription about a month ago. It's a tech site. They do a little bit of pop culture coverage too, but they run the homepage like a blog, and the homepage is kind of addictive. I'm checking it multiple times daily.
I consider that like news stuff though. Like I do go on I check like Rolling Stone, Billboard, but I consider that trades. I don't really consider that like a website.
Trades,
The trades. I check the trades.
Do you two remember Stumble Upon? This was a website where you could just like hit a button and it'd take you to a random website. Yeah.
There used to be something similar for Wikipedia too as well, right? Like you could just go to a random Wikipedia site. Yeah.
I did find a couple of Stumble Upon type websites that still exist. There's the uselessweb.com, and it'll take you to a random stupid website. Like if I go right now, it might take me to a little mini game I can play online. And then I also found a site called cloudhiker.net, and it lets you pick certain categories of websites at like tech, pop culture, art, whatever. And then it'll bring you to a random website under that category. And some of these websites are old school looking, so that's part of the appeal, I feel. Mm-hmm. So maybe check those out if you're missing the old school internet. Of course, the Wayback Machine is a fun way to take you back in time. Everybody knows that if you're missing those days.
Yeah. Roshan's also saying I go to a lot of recipe websites. I do that too. I guess that those are also, I don't ever think about it because I'm just Googling like good cinnamon roll recipe and then hopping around from page to page. But and a lot of those are like usually you end up on small blogs.
Yeah. Yeah, as long as it's not SEO farming content type websites where you get annoying like backstories to a recipe before you get to the damn recipe.
And I know exactly what they're doing, but almost every website does that except for like all recipes.
Okay.
It's like, I know you're just trying to show up on Google, and you did. So
good job. That pisses me off.
Good job, Jenny from North Carolina.
And that's a millennial complaint too. Actually, I'll add that to my list. Google's just been destroyed. It's just a mess these days. All SEO baiting content. Ariel said her biggest millennial complaint was that very few of her friends are in serious relationships or don't want kids ever or not for a long time. I'm pregnant with our second at age 29. My first is 18 months. And it feels so lonely when none of my friends want families one day. I'm a working mom and it's hard AF, but I have very few people IRL who can relate.
I feel like with our generation, it's usually one way or the other, honestly. And I think a lot of people are lonely depending on what side of the aisle they fall on this.
Yeah.
For, especially if all your friends are married and you're not, and they don't make an effort to spend time with you or invite you to stuff anymore.
Yeah.
So I think one of the real challenges I've felt, and it's not something I'm upset with anyone about, it's just part of life. But, for some of my friends who have had kids, it kind of feels like they fall off the face of the earth. And I'll see the occasional Facebook update, and I get it. Like, they're busy. I can't imagine how busy it is to be responsible for a little human. But I think all of that is to say it's a sentiment that goes both ways. So it's possible that maybe some of your friends look at you, like with, a marriage and kids, and it makes them feel disconnected in a way. Like, disconnection is just a hard emotion to grapple with anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. They might see you at a different stage of your life and thus feel like they can't relate to you either.
I also think that part of it too is that like, I fully understand people wanting to connect with others that are in similar stages of their life. I would never begrudge anybody that, because I'm sure it does. You do want that sense of community to make you feel like, you're not crazy when you're experiencing parenthood for the first time. But like, your friends that aren't there, like, just because they don't want children does not mean that they won't love your children and don't love your children. And so I would encourage you also to make sure you're still including them if they're comfortable in those bigger milestones, because I just look at like my one brother who has my niece. She's 4 now. And so when he had her, none of his friends were having kids. And I thought it was so sweet to see them all show up And they're all like friends that he's had playing sports and stuff. So they're such like frat bros showing up for this little girl's first birthday, second birthday, third birthday, fourth birthday. And I just thought it was really sweet to see that they were super chill with it and just wanted to be there for him, to support him.
Yeah. So I love that. And honestly, that's how I feel, because while I don't want them for myself, I love being the fun auntie. Like, I'm down to babysit. I'll come by and play whatever games with whatever new toys they have. Like, I get a kick out of that kind of thing. I just don't want to be responsible for a little person 24/7.
And I think a lot of your friends will understand that, like, until the kid gets a little bit older, like, they might just always be there with you, but you can still have those people in your life. So just make sure you're not cutting anyone out.
I like what Sarah said, who's listening live on our Patreon right now. She said, we are thinking for ourselves and our kids. So our brains officially forget people I don't see on the regular. This reminds me, too, of a story I've shared in After Dark in recent months about a certain somebody who's looking for friends, but forgets to keep up his own friendship with us because he's a recent parent. That, I mean, if I'm being generous.
Is that the one that we were talking about, that you guys still have the baby gift in the closet?
Yeah, and guess what? That fucking birthday gift's still in the closet. I'm gonna. Does anybody want a birthday gift for a child? I'll send it to you at this point. I want it out of my damn house. But no, to assist Ariel here, I would suggest maybe if you're looking for people who are more, let's say, like-minded, who are also moms, recent moms. There's definitely local parenting groups where you can connect with some people, maybe taking the 18th-month-old to a gymnastics class with other kids around the same age. There are, I will tell you, no one pushes Bumble BFF more than me. I see on Bumble BFF people writing, I am a parent, would like to meet other parents. There's parents looking for fellow parents on there.
Yeah, for sure.
And the meetup.com. Go to the park.
Yeah. Or like, honestly, too, I know it's like you're looking for friends now, but like once your kid gets to school, you're going to have like more parents that want to be friends with you than you'll know what to do with, honestly. And that is my brother's biggest gripe, because he does not like a lot of the parents that his kid goes to school with. Yeah. But he has to be friendly with them. So
and
you'll find your people.
People at the park, people on Bumble, wherever else, these other parents want to meet other parents too. Yeah. But it requires taking yourself out of that comfort zone and making the first move.
You automatically have something in common. Like, that's my kid over there.
Well, right. I got a neighbor here and a neighbor there. They both have a child around the same age. This neighbor over here said to me, oh, I realized the neighbor across the street has a child who looks the same age. We should hang out. I was like, go and frickin' do that. I guarantee she is looking for a friend too. It just takes making that step first, and then you two will connect and it'll be great. All right. Hopefully that helps, Ariel. We could have done a whole 45 minutes on that, I feel.
I know. And we're not even parents.
We're not even parents. But we are desperate for friends, so we got that part online. Camille said, I think a shirt is cute, but then it's a surprise crop top. What happened to regular shirts?
Oh, God, I feel this so hard. This drives me nuts.
This is why you should take up sewing like I have.
Just sew like a new panel onto the shirt to make it a complete shirt.
I will not even tell you how many times I've done that since I learned how to sew.
Wow. Yeah. And so like crop tops, super cute. It's also context dependent. Like, it's not going to be appropriate to wear a crop top absolutely everywhere you go. Like, sometimes we just need a regular t-shirt.
Laura and Kelsey both said their biggest millennial complaints are student loans, of course. We've talked about that a lot, so I don't think we need to get into that again.
Yeah.
But finally here... Boo. Finally here, Brock said, housing costs. I'm almost 29 years old and still live with my parents. Not to sound like I'm patting myself on the back, but I know I'm intelligent and creative. If the system made any sense and wasn't built on nepotism, I should have been able to get a job that paid well enough for me to move out years ago. I always did well in school. I never got in trouble. I went to college, got a degree, followed that perfectly laid out path that you're supposed to take, and it was a complete bill of goods. I live in suburban North Carolina, and a 1-bedroom apartment here is easily $1,500. Between having been raised by helicopter parents and the subsequent lack of privacy from never being able to move out, it's no wonder the boomers accuse us of having never grown up. But the reason we didn't is because they hacked off the top half of the ladder to use the wood as lumber for their vacation homes.
Ooh, whoa, man.
How's that analogy?
Yeah, Brock was cooking there.
Yeah. No, well said, Brock. And it's just, again, like what I said earlier, you can never get ahead. Maybe you get another great job and you're like, oh, I can move out now. I can get a place of my own. Surprise, rent is now $2,000 and electric bills have gone up and gas has gone up. It's just things are always rising in cost.
Yeah, definitely feels like as a generation, we really got the short end of the stick here. Also, like, just thinking about the last decade and a half, like we were all in our mid-20s when the Trump nightmare started. And as you pointed out last week, Andrew, we're all going to be like nearing 40 by the time it's over. I'm so pissed. I feel like it's the prime years of my adulthood that have been stolen from me as our generation has had to deal with so much economic bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe our 40s will be better.
40's the new 30.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good way to look at it. I do feel that way strongly. On the bright side, Brock, I hope that at least living at home has given you the opportunity to save a lot of money. So maybe it's still not the right time to move out and pay for a place, but at least you've been able to save some cash by not renting, and you can use that money in big ways down the road. So to wrap this up, any of our own millennial complaints that weren't already brought up today? Pam, do you have anything?
I have one, and I feel like we've probably talked about this one before, so we don't need to harp on it too much. But my biggest one is that you can't just flat out buy most software anymore because everything's a subscription. And I'm talking about stuff like Photoshop, the Microsoft suite, which you used to be able to just like drop, $200 to $500 for, and then just own until they updated enough that you would want a newer version of that thing. It's insane to me that it's monthly subscription based now, and I don't think that should be the case.
Yeah, you mentioned Photoshop. All the Adobe apps are subscription based, and I think it's $55 or $60 a month now to get all of them. And this is for creatives. Creatives, typically poor. They don't have $55 to $60 a month to spend on software that Adobe really isn't even updating. You get a feature or two per year.
That's my whole thing too. It's not even like they're making upgrades every month.
Yeah. Yeah. The audio editing tool it virtually does not get updated anymore other than bug fixes. I've moved largely to Premiere Pro at this point. They add some things, but it's nothing mind blowing. In December, they were like, oh, here's a 10x performance increase on H.264 video formats. I was like, oh my God, this is actually big news if true. I didn't notice any difference. No difference. Mm-hmm. And I'm using that exact video format that they said they have better performance on. So it's just, yeah, the subscriptions can really kill you.
It is crazy too, because there's free software out there nowadays that's actually pretty good, like DaVinci Resolve for video editing. I've used that a little bit. Like Mark has really showed me how to use it because I wasn't familiar. And like, yeah, it's free software. So it's not going to maybe be like the most intuitive thing in the world, but it does work really well. Yeah. So it just raises the question, like, why is Adobe charging so much for this?
I think it's the suite of apps that is really tempting. Like I've been tempted to switch to Final Cut, Apple's video editing software, because that's a one-time purchase too. But then I'm missing out on Photoshop features. I'm missing out on Adobe Audition features. So, there's pros and cons, but if somebody came along with a suite like Adobe has, and it's just one-time purchases, that would be very tempting for me to switch to. My millennial complaint is I miss longer TV seasons. Everything is like 8 to 10 episodes anymore. We used to have 22 to 24 episodes. That was half the year. We were getting shows for half of a year, and that was awesome. It was like a season of sports practically.
Yeah, but how many of those were filler episodes because the network ordered way more than what the writers were prepared to storyboard for.
Yeah, but the fillers sometimes like those become the most iconic episodes.
Yeah, they're like taking a risk.
Like I just think about like How I Met Your Mother. They would have never been able to do like the recurring Slapsgiving episode.
Yeah, that's true. That was very
good. The whole time it was on TV. Yeah. So.
Yeah, sometimes they fall flat, but it was nice to see them branch out and take risks. And again, just having 22 to 24 weeks. And I mean, you can also tie in weekly episode releases to this complaint too. I wish none of these streamers would drop everything at once anymore. I want those weekly releases. I want something to look forward to every week in this miserable world.
Well, I have one that kind of mirrors one that one of our listeners mentioned earlier, but I just miss the early days of the internet, like the late 90s, early 2000s, and just how chaotic and weird and funny it was. People were just having fun with it. And at that point, we weren't trying to monetize the shit out of everything. And there were like limits, there were ceilings to what you could do. So I feel like a lot of the charm of the early internet is how people were able to be creative around those limitations with the stuff they put out. And it was like true passion projects. And it was weird shit. Like I think about some of the videos that really became memes for our generation. Like, I know y'all know some of these like E-Bombs videos, E-Bombs World videos, like End of Zoo World or Charlie the Unicorn or the Kenya song, like,
or the shoes.
Oh, shoes. I forgot about Kelly. I'm going to get what I want.
That's such a good point, Laura. Like, because nobody was getting on YouTube and vlogging themselves weekly with the intention of getting famous, because there was no point in being famous on YouTube.
There was less affiliate revenue, less influencer advertising. People were just, I like what you said, Laura, about people who were just following their passions. And I think that's one reason why Reddit is still a bright spot. You can find people giving each other advice with no ulterior motives other than to help one another. And this is why people turn to Reddit for so many recommendations. If you go to a lot of websites these days, it's all affiliate links, it's sponsored articles, they have ulterior motives on those websites. Whereas on Reddit, it's just everyday humans trying to help one another, and they're not getting a cut based on their feedback.
Yeah, it just feels genuine. It feels like community. And I think the thing that I really love about reminiscing about the early internet was it kind of felt like being on the frontier of something new.
Wow, web.
Right? Exactly. Like we all felt like we were doing something new, and we had like kind of an intrinsic understanding of how to navigate it just because of how young we were when it came into our lives and how quickly we were able to adapt in it. So it was like, I don't know, it was kind of like a secret club in some ways too, because not everybody was as on the internet as we were. So I know there were a lot of like inside jokes and things that you would have only with your friends who were internet friends, right? Because nobody else would get it. I just miss that. Those were fun days.
Yeah, me too. Well, on that note, those are all of our millennial complaints. Those were fun to discuss and commiserate over. Coming up in After Dark, to hell with Gen Alpha, 2025 ushers in a new generation, Gen Beta. And this week, we're going to discuss how the three of us will raise our Gen Beta babies different than how our parents raised us millennials. Yes, I am just assuming all three of us are going to have a Gen Beta baby.
We're having a baby, like, between the three of us.
Do you want to do that?
I mean, you can just, like, skirt responsibilities. Yeah.
Push them off.
Every third quarter, we rotate.
Hey, 3 is better than 2. That sounds like a good idea.
That's true.
Well,
technically 5 if we rope Mark and Pat into it.
True.
Oh, yeah.
Not in JD Vance's America. They'll deport all of us.
That's true. If you want to support us, you can become our favorite pal over at patreon.com/millennial. And once you are supporting us, you'll be able to listen to our weekly gossip sessions known as After Dark in your favorite podcast app, which this week will include this hypothetical chat about how we would be potentially better parents than our parents.
You'll also be able to hang out with us on Zoom monthly, where you can come and tell us how terrible our parental planning in this episode of After Dark was. We welcome your feedback. You'll also get ad-free episodes, hear old episodes of Smart Mouths, listen to recordings of us calling each other randomly on a monthly basis, and lots more. Patreon also offers 7-day free trials and annual subscription benefits.
And if you're an Apple Podcast user, you can get just After Dark and ad-free episodes by tapping into the show and signing up for Mega Millennial. Time for some recommendations. What do you got for us, Pam? Pam Powell?
I wanted to recommend an indie artist named Tinsley, who is based out of Seattle. She's unsigned, so if you want to support an artist that is on the ground floor, this is a good opportunity to do so. I really loved her debut album, which came out a couple of weeks ago. It's very much like indie pop, indie rock, and she has a little bit of like alt country in there too. It's just a really fun time. It's a self-titled debut album. So, if you're looking for some new music, I would highly recommend checking her out. And if you follow us on any of the socials, you'll see that I curated a playlist for the beginning of the year, and I popped one of her tracks in there too. So you'll get a nice little taste of the kind of music that she does if you check that out as well.
New Pam playlist. Love it. I'm feeling very emotional and nostalgic this week because it has leaked that The Sims 1 and The Sims 2 are going to be re-released for PC. Apparently this Friday, as part of The Sims 25th anniversary. I was the biggest Sims player back in the day. It's been documented on the show that there was also The Sims Online, and I fell in love with a lady Sim, and I got addicted to The Sims Online, and my parents had to cut off the credit card access because I was just playing it nonstop. I loved The Sims, and apparently they're releasing all of The Sims 1 and 2 expansion packs as well. We don't know what the price of these are going to be. It can't be too bad if these are 25-year-old games. So I'm just so looking forward to playing The Sims 1 again. I don't have a PC though, so I'm going to have to figure out how to do this on the Mac because I really don't want another device.
And I want to recommend last week's episode of The Weekly Show with Jon Stewart, his podcast. He had AOC on, and they had a really, really good about hour-long conversation about being quite frank about the current state of Democratic politics. And I really wish that more people in the party would listen to her. So if they won't, I just want to recommend that you do. So check it out.
Before we wrap up, time for a couple last reminders to all of our pals. Visit shop.millennialshow.com to pick up official Millennial swag. This is the latest and greatest way to support us and show off that you are Millennial AF.
You can follow the show in your favorite podcast app or YouTube and leave us a review.
Be sure to leave comments wherever you follow us or email millennialshow@gmail.com. And millennialshow.com is also where you'll find links to all of our various social media platforms and notes on what we've discussed today.
After Dark starts in a moment for patrons and Apple Podcast subscribers. Thanks everybody for listening. I'm Andrew.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Pamela.
Bye everyone.
Bye.
Bye.